Welcome everybody, and thank you for checking out today's video. I have a good amount of things to go through today. Class is in session. I'm gonna start out by fixing this. Trying to get business from this person, so we want to go ahead and just did the stitch out. They liked it, but they asked if the streaks, so pretty much like where the fill meets the border, the stitching splits, and you could kind of see lines running across like that from that black stitching underneath. So I have an idea on how to fix that issue. That's what I'm gonna try out, run it. Hopefully we're good with that. And for the second part of the video, I went through some comments that I feel would be good to answer in this video. One being, somebody asked, how do you import a font into H.B.I? That's the embroidery software that I use. And second, somebody also asked, it was for one of my shorts where I'm showing how to do 3D puff. They asked if you could just use a regular font that's already built into the software and then change the properties to make it 3D puff. The short answer is yes. I've done it before, so we'll dive in to do another example of that. Lastly, somebody also asked in one of my previous videos that I was doing the patch, I think it was for the tags, the Christmas tags, if you could use plastic sheeting instead of water-soluble stabilizer. So I have here a Food for Less plastic bag that I'm gonna be hooping and using instead of water-soluble stabilizer. I don't know yet if I'm gonna be using just one sheet of it or might as well use both. I don't see any issues with just running it on one, just one sheet of it. But we'll find out. I'll see what we stitch out. I'm trying to do something different, not the patch again. So yeah, it should be interesting. So go ahead and drop the like and sub to the channel right now for all your embroidery content. Now let's jump into Hatch and fix this first issue. I'll keep this part short. This is not a digitizing video, but I've uploaded plenty of other videos where I do dive deeper into digitizing, so consider checking out my other videos as well. Pretty much what's happening here is because my fill, my tatami fill, runs left and right. When the border goes over the edge right here, it pretty much splits the stitching, leaving a gap all around, pretty much like areas here, the top and bottoms of these satins. That issue shows throughout the 4 letters since I put my stitch angles the same, left to right. So I'm thinking if I simply move my angle to like a 45-degree angle, there's not that many places where they run parallel, the border and the fill, so I'm guessing we shouldn't have that much of an issue there. Again, I'm probably just gonna run the just the red letters. There's no reason to do the entire design again. I just want to make sure that we can deliver on our promise that we would be able to make those changes, because the person did ask, like, everything looks great. That's literally the only thing. I'll show you guys just how it stitches out. You got your fill, your border, nothing crazy there. Bunch of satins. I was gonna do the red and satin too, but I thought this would give it a little bit more dimension, changing it up a little bit, and you have your dish right here. Here's the artwork. So with this fixed, I think that would be it. What I'm gonna do, gonna select all the red, copy, open a new page, paste. So now I just run this part and not the entire design. I ended up adding a black square, a black tatami fill, just to make sure that it's gonna be the same thing when I actually embroider the official one. We've also been working on some Christmas designs. We should have been doing this since last month or at the beginning of this month, but we're just getting around to it. And then these two we just did recently. This one pretty crazy from today. These are all on our website if you're looking to get some Christmas swag. All right, that's one thing off the list. No more gaps, really clean. All right, now I'm confident that when the job arrives that we're not gonna have that issue. Tanya just showed me this sweater. We had done this one, same as the Leo one, but this was gonna be the Sagittarius one, black on black. She liked the embossed look that I did, the lion. So I'm gonna do that arrow huge back here. Not right now, but some other time. Okay, let's move on to the second thing, which was how do you import fonts into H.B.I? Now, I've never actually bought, let's say, like a font pack, a true font pack, which are fonts designed for embroidery. Like these that all have the little symbol right here. These are all true fonts. And then the ones that are not are way down at the bottom of the list over here, that are just kind of like your average fonts that were not made for embroidery, but it'll still show it here, just not in the best way or not digitized in the best way. But anyways, first you want to close it because when you download the font, you need to reopen it all over anyway. So let's go ahead and close it. And now we go to thefont.com. I'm gonna pick something that's not too crazy, but just a little crazy that I know is gonna show you guys how it imports, which is not perfectly. Let's see, school. So let's say this one, right? You're doing something for a kid's birthday or, you know, something along those lines for a little kid. You download that. You go through the whole process, holidays, homework, install. And that's it. Once those files unload, you're good. You reopen Hatch and it should be there. Here it is. Let's open up a blank page here. Lettering. So let's say it's Lil Thomas's birthday. You bring that up. And then we'll look for that font all the way at the bottom. Well, not all the way at the bottom, but in this section here. The name was Holidays Homework. So let's go to H. Boom, here it is. And check it out. This thing is chopped up. Of course, this one was crazy, like a chalk drawn style, but still, even if it wasn't, you still get these really weird shapes that obviously are not gonna embroider nicely. So you can import fonts into here. And what I like to do, let's say I really like a font that I know it's not gonna embroider well here, I just use it as a reference. So then now I know kind of what I want it to look like, and go ahead and manually digitize the entire thing in a way that I know it's gonna embroider well. But that's it. Importing fonts, fairly easy, real quick. Now from importing fonts, let's jump into, can you just use a regular font and turn it into 3D puff? Like I mentioned, the answer is yes, but always depends as well with the font. So let's pick an interesting font here. I always like to use Old English because it's a little complex. There's a few things going on, and it's a perfect way to show you guys how you can do that. So the first thing that I'll do is come to my stitching, remove all the underlay. If you could just leave the center run, perfect. And then you come over here to your fill and your manual spacing. I always have my hatched in inches. I bring this down to about 0.009, so that's making it much more dense. Now if you're here in metric, then that looks like 0.23. You could probably go more dense, but that's up to you. It depends what works for you at the time. So once we have that, for this letter specifically, you're pretty much set. Right here, even though you don't have a cap, this smaller satin goes over it and will pretty much close it off. The endings here are so small, the width, that you can just poke in the foam, hit it with either the lighter or the heat gun, and you're good. Now let's see an example where it doesn't work that naturally. This one is an Old English font as well, but this was one that was imported like I just previously showed you guys. Now here we have a bunch of areas, or a few areas where the foam would not be secured nicely on its own. So the same thing, let's remove this, leave the center run, my fill, go ahead and bump that up. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna delete this one. That one's too nice, too easy. We break it apart. So now we can work on individual objects. The main thing here, obviously, that the foam is gonna stick out big time right here. So if I change this angle, well, it doesn't let me because of the nodes. So let's remove all the stitch angles, and then we'll do this here. Just like that. So now the foam is getting trapped here with these corners cut off nicely. I'm not worried about this. I would remove that. If I'm doing this, honestly, I'm removing that. This thing here, probably just scoot it over just a little bit. Shouldn't be an issue either way. And then the same thing right here. Remove the stitch angles, add stitch angles, and close off that corner right there. In short, that's pretty much it. Of course, some letters might not be so easy. In any case, it's more beneficial to try to digitize for 3D Puff from scratch. But nonetheless, you can make it work. If you haven't had much practice in digitizing for 3D Puff, you can get some results. All right, I'll show you guys how this stitches out so we can see if it actually works. Here's our Cholo S. We got some foam sticking out right here. You could fix the angles to avoid this, but usually that's where foam sticks out. In these corners, that's where it's the least dense. I am not trying to convince anybody this is the way to go. I'm just showing you guys what is possible. You get yourself to this here. Hit it with the old heat gun. A little bit of the lighter. Not perfect, but far from the worst. Now for our final, it has one squeaky table. Now for our final task at hand, I removed some good stuff from this design I digitized once. I even did a video on it. So I just made it less dense, something that I could stitch out faster. You got some really bad satins here. I took off density from the fill in the back, but ultimately what's important is that when we get to this part here, we have a single running stitch that I'm gonna put on the plastic bag, and then after that running stitch, it's gonna do the final border on it, which we should be able to just punch out from the sheet of plastic. For my stitch out, I'm gonna use 2 sheets of 2.5 ounce Cutaway stabilizer, hooped by my 5x5 Mighty Hoop. Get free shipping. Dang. Using my link in the description when getting your own. I'm gonna let that boring part just stitch out, and then I'll skip to the good part. But if you're looking more about how to digitize for applique or to make a badge, then I have at least these 2 videos that you could check out afterwards. And also, if you guys have any more questions or want to see some other experiments or topics, let me know in the comments. That way I can make another video like this where we tackle a few of them and we could keep this thing going. Here's my soon-to-be patch. It's a waste of stabilizer. Feels like a waste of stabilizer, but it's for the video, so not really a waste. So here I have this running stitch. That's exactly where the border is gonna go. The same running stitch that I'm cutting at, I'm gonna put that same running stitch on the plastic bag first, so I know where to place my patch. Okay, so I have that here. Bottom of the hoop there. I'm gonna try to make sure that the bag is as flat as possible. There's a bit of a hole. Scoot that over. I kind of feel like using 2, but I'm gonna go with 1. In the name of science. That's looking legit so far. Okay. Let me fast forward to where that's gonna start. Oh, it's starting down here. Make sure it's lined up with that running stitch. I'm slowing it way down just to make sure that it doesn't get out and all crooked and I can't prove the point. So I'm gonna hold it down, run it real slow, and see what happens. Got a little misaligned on the left side right there. But it looks like it's still gonna be good. Let's ramp it up. It didn't align correctly here, but it doesn't matter. That's not what we're here to see. I mean, first of all, it held up. I'm always scared that if you're using something else that's not meant for it, the machine somehow is gonna eat it up. It's gonna jam up. So, but yeah, let's see how easily it punches out. Oh, that's nice. Not bad at all. Check that out. Just trying to remove the plastic from the back part of The point of using some kind of patch technique is to have clean edges, which is what it did give us. What do you guys think? This is actually the first for me using this technique. On that comment, I mentioned that I have heard of people using other things such as a trash bag, so I figured it was gonna work, but I'm glad that it did. No problems today. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. That's all I got. As always, like and subscribe for more embroidery content. I'm out. Deuces.